and auspicious event. Learning Vedanta to attain the much eluding peace and happiness here in this world, as also to reach the highest hereafter, surely needs the blessings of Sumukha, Ekadanta, Ganadhyaksha, as he is also called. The meaning of the shloka? Generally, in the class, we go by the Pratipada Artha, the every word meaning. But here, since it's a very well-known verse, we shall go by the Bhavartha, the overall meaning. The meaning goes so: I worship the Lord with a curved trunk and huge body, with the effulgence of a crore sun. May he remove the obstacles to all my deeds and lead them to fulfillment. There is a lot of symbolism attached to Lord Ganesha's form, especially in the Atharvana Shirsha Upanishad. Gajamukha, the elephant head of Lord Ganesha, symbolizes understanding and wisdom. Just as elephants pave way through thick woods for other animals to follow, Gajanana clears the obstacles and paves the way for us to move forward with the task on hand. The large ear signifies the art of listening to, whatever Sir said just now, Shravana, as the scriptures call it, and is the most essential prerequisite for a student of Vedanta. The trunk represents Om, the sound symbol of cosmic reality. The two tusks denote wisdom and emotion and convey the message that a seeker must conquer emotions with wisdom to attain perfection. The four arms represent Antahkarana Chatushtaya, mind, the manas, intellect, buddhi, ego, ahankara, and conditioned conscious, that is chitta. Yad bhavam tad bhavati, say the scriptures, as we perceive, so shall it be. This journey starts from the known to the unknown, from the sarupa to, that is with form, to nirakara, no form, and thereby helps us to understand the swarupa, the real I. I end with sincere prayers for the success of this program, which brings the precious knowledge of the scriptures to suit the present day context at the comfort of our homes in this crucial moment of a worldwide pandemic. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Ahalya, for a very nice explanation and for invoking Lord Ganesha's blessings. You will see that we don't need full knowledge of Sanskrit, but if you have some knowledge of Sanskrit, that will be good. I will begin by explaining very briefly a verse from Viveka Chudamani. The verse goes like this: Durlabam trayam evatad devanugraha hetukam manushutvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshraya. What does this mean? This verse from Adi Shankara, Viveka Chudamani, verse number 2 says that we are very, very lucky. Why? We have three things which very few people have. The first thing is human birth. And therefore, being a human being, we have a choice on everything that we do. And let us relish the gift of being human and the free choice that we have. Second is all of us are mumukshus. A mumukshu is one who is very clear that I am here to understand who I truly am and to work for my personal liberation. And third is to get the grace of a Mahapurusha. In the course of this exercise, we would like to introduce this Mahapurusha, Swami Paramarthananda, the scriptural genius, a Kshotriya Brahmanishta who is able to transmit scriptural wisdom into such easy understanding. And if you are able to have this, Dr. Ravi Shankar told us about the importance of a guru. A guru is one who's like the GPS. When you are in unknown territory, you need someone to help you, to give you directions. And if you have these three things, relish that I am a human being with free choice, that I am committed to discover my true nature and discover freedom, and that for which I am ready to surrender to a great master, we are indeed very lucky. The more you realize how lucky you are, it is said you can never be grateful and miserable at the same time. And if you feel so blessed, the next decision that you make is, while my body is well, I'm going to make my life 100% fit. And finally, I'm here to discover purpose. I'm here to discover meaning. I'm here to discover what I'm truly here for. I will share a nice poem which goes like this. I have never made a fortune and it's probably too late now, but I don't worry about that much. I'm happy anyhow. And as I go along life's ways, I'm reaping better than I sowed. I'm drinking from my saucer cause my cup has overflowed. One of the Western authors who has impressed me a great deal is Stephen Covey. And in his book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, he brings out this thought that private victory precedes public victory. If you are a leader, if you have the ability to influence a large number of people, Stephen Covey says, first you must be the master of yourself. Translated in Sanskrit, it becomes Manojaya. If you have to have Lokajaya, if you have to have victory over the world, you first need to be a master of yourself. There is an Upanishad called the Amrita Bindu Upanishad, verse number 2. Mana eva manushyanam karana bandha mokshaye, which means this mind of mine can be the cause of all my suffering and all my bondage. The same mind, if trained properly, can be the cause of my freedom, can cause liberation. The greatest tool that we have to work on ourselves is our mind, which is a supercomputer. There is no computing device which is as advanced as we have as this device. But the question we need to ask is this. Sometimes you see a person taking a dog for a walk, and the question is, who is taking whom for a walk? When it comes to your own mind, am I the boss of my mind, or is my mind me crazy at times? So this question Swami Param always asks is, this is a personal inventory. It is called FIR. FIR just means this. It is like a personal inventory. When you go through a program like this, it is to inquire three things. First is frequency. How frequently I lose my equilibrium, how frequently I get very angry and upset. Second, I stands for intensity and R stands for recovery. How quickly I'm able to recover. Sometimes emotions overwhelm you. So we need to have a personal inventory of how often this happens. The intensity of my upset can be classified into three. Level one is mental. I may be upset, but I'm able to mask it. You're not able to see it. Level two, when the upset or anger becomes more, you will see it in my voice. My volume changes, the pitch has changed. And level three, you will see, like the picture here, the whole body is really agitated, and that is the highest level of intensity. And R stands for recovery. Once I'm in a program like this, then I know I'm able to use my mind to be able to recover and come back to my baseline as quickly as possible. True personal mastery is a situation like this. You get an upsetting news, and your first reaction is what? But internally you're telling yourself, so what? I will be able to handle this. Let me share a story of a father and a son. The story you might know, but just be with the story. It's a story of a father and a son. The father had some important assignment to do when his little 4-year-old boy was constantly bothering him, and he wanted him to come and play with him. To make both things possible, the father gives him a map of the world, tears it into 4 or 5 pieces, and tells the little boy, I know you know the world map. I know you know where the continents are. This is a jigsaw game for you. I want you to put the world in place, and I promise you, the moment you put the world in place, I will play with you. The boy got working on his jigsaw. The father was back to his laptop, and the story goes that in no time the boy is able to put the whole world in place. And the father is amazed. He said, Sonny, how did you do it? And the boy says, Papa, behind the picture of the world map you gave me was a picture of a man. I put the man together because I know one thing for sure: if the man is okay, the world is okay. This is what I call Manojaya precedes Lokajaya. If I am okay, my world is okay. Ask yourself, what in me is not okay? Is it my body? Fortunately, for most of us, our bodies are well organized. It is my mind, emotions, and thoughts which can go crazy at certain times. This is what Swami Chinmayananda talks about his BMI charts. And there is one big V, which are the vasanas. I will come to it at some time later, before we are able to reach the highest accomplishment, that is Omkara. My profound respects to Swami Chinmayananda ji, because what we are studying, these scriptural texts were available only for a selected few, those who are ready to leave their homes. It was available only in Sanskrit. Now, he broke that tradition to bring it to the language that is comfortable for you, and without having to leave your homes, without having to go to a Gurukula. And today, sitting in your own homes, we will have all the scriptural books like the Bhagavad Gita. And my hope is that sometime later, when you open the Bhagavad Gita, any verse of the Bhagavad Gita will be able to reveal its meaning to you. Gautama Buddha, one of the greatest minds at all time, had said about our mind. He says, "You are your thoughts. If you have happy thoughts, you are a happy person. If you have a depressive thoughts or anxious thoughts, you are an anxious person." So he says, watch your thoughts because they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, it becomes your habits. Watch your habits, it becomes your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. And then he makes a landmark statement. And this is the power of a training program. He says, if you can change your thoughts, you could change your destiny. Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, who was an enlightened master who died only about 50 odd years ago, very in a place not too far from where we are here from Bangalore, in a place called Tiruvannamalai, summarized the entire Vedanta in just 4 words. The words go, Naham, Deham, Koham, Soham. Very authoritatively, he will say, Naham, Deham. I am not my body. What does it mean? This body is mine. This body is my instrument, but I am someone other than my body. The moment I feel I am someone other than my body, the next question comes is, who am I? That word in Sanskrit means koham. And the whole spiritual exercise that we are in is to help us to discover through the Guru, through the Shastras, to be able to discover my true nature. For the time being, we will just leave it at the word as Saha Ahamasmi or Soham. One of the authors my teacher Swami Param often refers to is Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer in his powerful book talks about the power of intention. The power of intention means whatever you want in your life, whatever you want for your family or for yourself, will come true. You first need to put it in your mind. And if you're able to program it in your mind very clearly, that is why it is said every creation happens twice, first in your mind and then in reality. Our mind is what we call a kalpa vriksha. A kalpa vriksha is like a wish fulfilling tree. Our mind can achieve just anything that you want, but the problem is, are we able to program it exactly? Once we understand the dynamics of the mind and once we know how to program it, it is possible that you can live a life of freedom to live a life you love. Can you imagine that? To be able to live a life of freedom just the way you are, to be able to live the life you love. But there is a problem. The problem is Mana eva manushyanam karana bandha mokshaye. The same mind is the cause of bondage. Why? This instrument of me, mine, instead of being my slave, can become my master. When I really want it, it may not be available to me. The problem is my mind is constantly generating thoughts. And when my mind is generating thoughts, the mind takes me to a world far away from reality. It takes me away from real time. Question now. Am I here and 100% in my body, in my mind? Or am I here only in my body and my mind is thinking about what next? And if I'm away and away, I'm in psychological time. And one of the important spiritual exercises, and all great masters bring to this more and more, can you become aware of the sensations of the body? Can you feel the ground beneath your feet if your feet is touching the ground? If you're seated on a chair, can you feel the chair you are seated on? Can you feel and experience your breathing? Now, this is an exercise of coming into real time, and Vedanta gives you a lot of sadhanas, lots of techniques to help you to come back to be the master of your own mind, to be able to accomplish whatever you want. And in our scriptures, they say 4 goals, that is called Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Vedanta helps you to achieve all that. We come to the main topic of today. The topic is, what is Purushartha, what is Ashrama, what is Varna, and what is Shastras, or what are these scriptures. These are the main topics for today. Normally, our teacher would take 1 hour for each of these topics. And today, all of us are busy people. We do not have that much of time. My aim is just to give you a little glimpse of all these things. And then we will provide you enough study material. And at your own time, I would like you to be able to dwell on this. Before we come into the world of Shastras, before we come into the world of spirituality, let us make our prostrations to Goddess Saraswati. And I make a request to Radhaji to please explain this beautiful mantra, Yakundendra Tusharahara Dhavala.
Sri Matre Namaha, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Goddess Saraswati is the presiding deity for speech and knowledge. Any knowledge, spiritual knowledge or worldly knowledge. To know something and to express something what we know, we need her grace immensely. And this Yakundendu Tushara Haradhavla, this prayer most of us know. This prayer is given to us by Agastya, and I will try to explain it in 4 parts. Ya kundendu tushara hara dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita. Here everything is in white, if you see. White denotes purity, transparency, and this is a prerequisite for any knowledge to happen in your life. Shuddha sattva. There is no mixture of any gunas here. If one's mind and heart is of this stage, then Goddess of wisdom and knowledge can preside in our life. Kunda, ya kundendu. Kunda pushpa is nothing but jasmine flowers. Jasmine flowers are sweet smelling and white in color. Kundendu, Indu is moon. How is the moon? Soothing, cooling, again white. Today is a full moon day, and many of you will experience how a full moon looks like. And Tushara, Tushara is snowflakes. Snowflakes are again bright white in color. Hara Dhavala, that means she's wearing a necklace of white, something white, like pearls. Again, pearls symbolize the moon, the mind, and everything. So here everything, and Shubhra Vastra, she's wearing brilliant white clothes. So everything around her, when you think about her, everything is in the hue of white and pure. The next one is Yavina Varadanda Manditakara Yashveta Padmasana. Here we are talking about Ma Saraswati holding a beautiful veena. And what is this veena? Varadanda it is called. Vara means what? Giving boons. All the deities are known for giving boons. Varadanda, danda is a boon-giving staff. This is. Now, what is this? Saraswati holds a peculiar veena which is called Kachapi. And what is this veena's speciality? That it not only plays the notes, the swaras, it also sings. It talks like you and me. It's a talking veena. So she is holding that veena in her hand, which means that if we hand over our mind to her, because veena is a very complicated instrument, very tough to play. Somebody who is playing has to be really skillful and have to have the mastery over the instrument to produce a beautiful music. So if we hand over our buddhi to her, she will play beautiful music in our life. And Ya Shweta Padmasana, she's sitting in a white lotus, again white color. Now, can anybody sit in a lotus? Not really. The lotus here means our heart lotus, and she has to sit in our heart. Now, what is the significance of a lotus? Lotus is known for Vikasana. Vikasana means unfolding, spreading, progressing. So if we are willing to spread the knowledge that we have, we also see always Saraswati sitting in a water body all the time, which means flowing. So the knowledge has to be progressive, it has to unfold, it has to go to other people, and it has to be in constant flow. Then only this knowledge can happen in our lives. Then Ya Brahma Achyuta Shankara Prabhritivi Devai Sada Pujita, which means what? Brahma, Achyuta, Shankara, all the Trinity, they are involved in creating, sustaining, and absorbing, and all the devatas are given different tasks to maintain this universe. So the skill required, the efficiency required, and the knowledge required to do their jobs, for that they are invoking this very Saraswati to bless them with that knowledge so that they could perform all their activities. And Samam Patu Saraswati Bhagavati. Sam is that, Mam is me, Patu is we are invoking her to come and protect us. I'm invoking such Saraswati to come and protect me. Nishesha is endless. Jadya is Jadatvam, ignorance of lifetimes. Apaha is removing. So we are invoking this Saraswati who is in a white hue, everything about her is white, to come and preside into our heart lotus, and we become an instrument in her hands so that she plays beautiful music of our life, and she protects us and remove the ignorance of our lifetimes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Radha. With the blessings of Lord Ganesha and with Saraswati's blessings, we proceed on the next topic to have a clear understanding of our vast scriptural literature. As I said, this is an extremely vast topic, but if you pay your attention, in this slide itself, you will have a nice glimpse of our whole Shastras. Shastras means the Hindu scriptures. The most important of them is the first pillar called the Vedas. The Vedas are all called Shrutis. Shruti means that which is heard. All the other Shastras are derived from the Vedas. From the Vedas, which is about 20,000 Sanskrit verses, sometimes you can bring the entire message in a very capsule form, like Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now, these are called sutras. A sutras is a cryptic verse where a lot of scriptural wisdom is packed so that it is easy to remember. The next level is called a smriti. A smriti is something that you can remember. Smritis are elaboration of the Vedas. They are the elaboration of the sutras. They are usually in verse form, and like Manusmriti, which helps you to understand the Vedic wisdom. Puranas are all based on stories. Now, if the same Vedic wisdom comes in a story form, it is easy to understand, easy to digest, and that is why we have the next level of scriptures called the Puranas. The fifth one is called Itihasa. Itihasa means scriptural literature based on history, like Ramayana and Mahabharata. And finally, there are Sanskrit texts called the Bhashyams. The Bhashyams means the commentaries on the previous all the previous scriptures. So this is a bird's eye view. We'll go into little details of each of them. First, what is the Vedas? The picture I have given of Vyasacharya. Vyasacharya is the compiler of all the Vedas. He is not the author of the Vedas. Now he, like a professor, had a lot of students, and he sent all his students to compile, and his students compiled into 4 groups. The 4 groups, which now became 4 books, are called the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Atharva Veda. Altogether, there are about 20,000 mantras. The whole Vedas can be divided into 2 broad portions, called the Veda Purva, or the first part of the Vedas, and then called the Veda Anta. The Veda Purva itself can be subdivided into three. One is called the Mantra Bhaga. The Mantra Bhaga is a set of various prayers. Then comes the Brahmana Bhaga, which involve various karmas, various types of pujas to be performed. All the details of that are given in this Bhaga. And finally, there is another Bhaga called the Aranyaka Bhaga, which deals with various forms of upasanas or various forms of meditation. The end portion of all the Vedas contain the philosophical part, also called the Jnana Kanda, or also called the Veda Anta. Veda Anta means end portion of the Vedas, and that is the portion that we will be studying in the course of some time, and that is the Upanishads. And Upanishads are the ultimate of spiritual wisdom, and our determination here is to understand and study a few of the principal Upanishads. Who is the author of the Vedas? As I told you, Vyasacharya is only the compiler of the Vedas. He compiled. The various rishis make themselves so sensitive that they are able to download the signals from the Lord himself. They become the receivers of these signals. All they get download various forms of sounds, and those sounds they put it into words, and these how the Veda mantras have come. And that is why it is our belief that none of these Vedic scriptures are human composition. They are called Apaurusheya. And for many years or many centuries, it was not written down. Sanskrit did not have a script of its own. So it was transmitted by word of mouth from the father to the son for generations. And these are called the Shrutis. Now, the Vedic mantras by themselves have got certain swaras. That means they have to be chanted in a very particular manner. And if you chant them in a particular way, there is a certain vibratory quality, which means even if you do not know the meaning of this mantra, there is a certain beneficial effect. It is capable of helping you. But if you know the meaning of the mantra, then you know what it really means. The word Veda means a source of knowledge. The word Vid means to know. As I said, today, fortunately, we have the Bhagavad Gita. Adi Shankara, who's written a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, he said one thing, that if you are able to study the Bhagavad Gita alone, it is the summary of all the Vedas. And therefore, today, when we want a shortcut to all the Vedas, it is the Bhagavad Gita. So I've come from the Vedas, which is the Shrutis, to Sutras. The Sutras, as I said, are cryptic statements. They are extremely brief. They are very packed. Examples are the Brahma Sutras, the Narada Bhakti Sutras. Maybe at a very advanced stage, we get to study these things. The elaboration of the Sutras, the elaboration of the Vedas, in a poetic fashion that you can remember, the remembered wisdom often in poetic form. Example is Manusmriti. All of us love stories. Vyasacharya himself has compiled the entire Puranas, 18 Puranas and 18 Upapuranas. So all the scriptural wisdom is now given to us in a story form. For example, now if you want a Vedic wisdom is Satyam Vada, always speak the truth. So you have the entire Purana called the Harishchandra Purana, the story of Satya Harishchandra, where through the life of Harishchandra, the importance of being truthful is given through these Puranas. Then you have Puranas, the Upa Puranas. The most popular of them is what is called the Bhagavat Purana. That is why we have a great reverence to Vyasacharya. And then comes what we are very familiar with, the Ramayana and Mahabharata. They come under the classification of Itihasa. The word Itihasa means thus it happened. These are history-based scriptural literature. According to the teachers, it happened in this way, and a story is built on it. That's why we have the Ramayana, originally written by Valmiki with 24,000 verses, and the Mahabharata with 100,000 verses by Vyasacharya. The Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Mahabharata. Finally, we come to what is called the Bhashyam. The Bhashyams are commentaries on the Vedas, the Sutras, or the Itihasa. There is a school, a science, which is called Sampradaya. Sampradaya means When you give a bhashyam, when you give a commentary, the teacher should give on what basis I have given my interpretation. There is a whole science called the sampradaya. And that is why it is said that if you read the Bhagavad Gita or any of our scriptural texts from a Western author or Western educated Indian authors who have not gone through the tradition, it is possible that the essential meaning that is derived through sampradaya is lost. It is so great that we have the tradition alive even today. The original Vedas and the way it is brought down through sampradaya is available even for us today. Sitting at home, we can learn all this. Although there are so many of them, our teacher, Swami Paramarthananda, tells us there are three texts that we have to invest our time in this human life. That is called Prasthana Traya, the three books. They are called the Shrutis, that means from the Vedas that we have the Upanishads, from the Smritis that we have is the Bhagavad Gita, and then from the Nyaya Shastras, which is called the Brahma Sutra. In the order of difficulty, in the order of easiness, the easiest of them is the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a simplified form of all the Vedas. And therefore, our teachers have humorously said the Bhagavad Gita is like an undergraduate level. And if you want the original source book, you can go to the graduate level, that is the Shrutis or the Vedanta. And then if you want to go to a postgraduate level, it is the Brahma Sutras that definitely we could get to study at some time. So in summary, what is the Vedas? The Vedas are also called the Shrutis. We know Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, about 20,000 verses in Sanskrit, non-human composition, which we treat with great reverence. From them are derived the cryptic sutras, smritis, which are elaboration, story form in the form of Puranas. The word Pura, Api Nava. Pura means ancient. Api Nava means relevant even today. Itihasa means does it happen, based on history. We have the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and finally we have the Bhashyam. All of us, many of us who have been to medical school, you have so many textbooks which we revere and respect, but what do we read? We read those guidebooks, the guidebooks which make it very easy to remember. The guidebooks that our teachers are given are called Prakarana Grantha. The one that we are following now to teach in these classes, what we call Tattva Bodha or Viveka Chudamani, are all Prakarana Grantha. Prakarana Grantha is the essence, the simplified, easily digestible, easily remembered form that we are going to study. And with this, thanks to the grace of Goddess Saraswati, Ganesha, we have had a glimpse of what our great Shastras are all about. I go to the next topic. The next topic is called Purushartha. Purusha means human being. Purushartha also means free will or the human goals. Our traditions have said if you are a human being, there are 3 or 4 goals that we need to work on. Artha in Sanskrit has got a number of meanings. One of the meanings is goal, wealth, destination, and so on. The Chaturvida Purushartha. Our teacher often uses Sanskrit words so that we are familiar with these words and we use these words. These 4 types of goals that we have to work on are called Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma means values which are based on scriptures. Artha means the effort that I spend in generating wealth, in providing security for myself and for family. That is called Artha Purushartha. And then there is Kama Purushartha. Why do I acquire so much wealth? Because I want to enjoy the money that I have earned, to have more comforts, to be able to fulfill all my desires. But the scriptures say that your Artha Purushartha should be Dharma based, the Kama Purushartha should be Dharma based. And finally, there is one Purushartha called Moksha, which our teachers call the Parama Purushartha. Parama Purushartha means the highest goal. A little more details about Dharma Purushartha. The word Dharma Purushartha also means an invisible wealth. It is called Adrishtam. Adrishtam means something that cannot be seen. And whenever you do a good job, you acquire a good punya. And whenever you do something bad, you acquire bad punya, which is called Duradrishtam. It is these punya and papa which generate what kind of birth we are going to have in future. These 3, the first three Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, and Kama, have certain limitations. What are these limitations? The first in Sanskrit is called Dukkha Mishrita. It is interspersed with pain. If I have to acquire wealth, if I have to enjoy good things in life, there is a struggle to acquire. There is a struggle to maintain my position wherever I have, and whether I like it or not, there is a good chance that I'm going to lose it. So all the acquisition that I had is certainly mixed with pain, because there is a certain pain that is involved. Second is called atripti karatvam. Translated in English should mean not entirely fulfilling. You may look at all the assets that you have acquired, all the wealth, but you feel if there is one more zero or maybe one more zero to it, it'll look much better. So what are you trying to say? It can be better. It is not so fulfilling. Somebody else has much more than what I have. And finally, and most difficult, is bandhakatva. Bandhakatva means without all these good things in my life, I cannot be happy. It creates bondage. The next question is there a goal? Is there a goal which is free from all this? Our teacher says yes. And that is what we call Parama Purushartha or Moksha. Normally, our life is so cyclical. Our teacher calls it MBBS. And what does MBBS word means? Every day we do the same thing again and again. It finally becomes meaningless, boring, burdensome struggle. It is like the London Eye, a wheel that never stops. It goes on and on and on, day in and day out. Now, our quest is, can I get out of it? That is where we need the guru. That means we need a master who's come out of this cycle, who's able to help us to get out of this cycle and to attain to something which we call moksha or liberation. Let us be clear, what is this Parama Purushartha or liberation? First, let us know what is bondage. All of us experience bondage. My body is limited. My intellect is limited. My resources that I have are limited. And these resources, limited body abilities, limited mental abilities are called bandha or bondage. And all our efforts are a struggle to go beyond these limitations. I want to be in charge of my life. When many things that happen which I don't want to happen, happen. Many things that I want to happen do not happen. And therefore, is there something that I can acquire this? Now we are trying to move away from MBBS to a new degree that we can work on, and that degree is called JM. And what does JM stands for? Jivan Muktihi. Mukti means freedom. While I am alive, this degree is not something posthumous. It is while you are alive, while you are in this same body. The circumstances do not change. Your wealth does not change. Your family members do not change. The difficult people in your lives do not change. But then you now are free in spite of persons, in spite of situations, in spite of any objects. Can we imagine a situation like that? We are working for JM. That is the topic of Purushartha. So we spoke about Artha Purushartha, Kama Purushartha, Dharma Purushartha, and Moksha Purushartha. The next topic, which is very important, dealt in our Shastras, is called Ashrama Vyavastha. In order to attain these Purushartha, our scriptures say, in an individual life, we go through 4 stages. The first stage is the student life called the Brahmacharya. And once you graduate as a student, you become a grihastha or a householder. And then once you have lived your life, acquired enough wealth, enjoyed all the good things in life, and then you work for something higher, and that is called the Vanaprastha. And finally, you dwell essentially into spiritual aspects, and that is what is called a sannyasa. A little details of each of these words. What is the meaning of the word ashrama? Shrama means effort. A deliberate, willful effort in a specific direction. When your goal is clear, then you know I am going to work on this direction and not anything else. Now, therefore, this is a kind of a spiritual exercise. And an ashrama is, we have different ashramas where we do different kinds of spiritual practices. The word brahmachari means, Brahman means another word for scriptures. Brahma also means God. Acharati is one who dwells on God, the one who is close to God all the time. How do we do it? We do it through a system of schooling. The schooling is called the Gurukula Vasa. What do we do in a Gurukula Vasa? When the child comes to you, the child is extremely raw. And in Sanskrit, it's called Prakrita. And the whole vision of the Gurukula Vasa is to convert that Prakrita, the raw child, into a refined person. And the refined word in Sanskrit is called Samskrita. In fact, the word Samskrita means to be refined. And when you go through this process, the teaching or the schooling gives the second birth. The first birth is given by the parents. The second birth is given by the teachers. And when the teachers or the guru gives a second birth, it is said you are born twice. And that is called a dvija, a twice born. Once you have finished through brahmacharya, you spend more time as a grihastha, where you dwell into acquiring wealth, enjoying all the good things in life. Then you go into a stage called Vanaprastha. Today, Vanaprastha means going to a forest as there are no forests. Our teacher says, I will give you a technique of being a Vanaprastha, is to be a guest in your own home. Be a guest in your own home means everything is provided, your food and all your requirements are provided, but you are not going to say, like a guest, you're not going to say, it should have been like this. Or if there is some issue happening, you're not going to poke your nose into whatever is happening. So just be there unless they ask you for your inputs, and that is called being a guest in your own house. Finally, I would like to speak about sannyasa. Sannyasa is the life where you dedicate to spiritual pursuits. I will share a little story of an Indian businessman who went to Africa. And when he finished his business, his local host told him that we have a place where there are speaking parrots. Would you like to see them? The man says, you have really parrots that can speak? So he was amazed to see that parrots could actually speak. And he said, my friends in India have never seen a speaking parrot. Can I get one of them? So they managed to capture one, put them in a cage. And because this was an African parrot in India, he took good care, gave the best of nuts, gave everything that was possible. And he got a chance to go back to Africa. And when he was going back, he told the bird in the cage, I'm going back to meet your friends. Do you have a message for them? He says, please tell them I'm happy in my cage. So he goes back to Africa. When he gets a chance to meet the birds, he says, 2 years ago, I had taken one of your friends from here. He has a message for you. Do you know what he wants to say? He wants to let you know he's happy in his cage. Listening to that, one of the birds falls down dead. He is really upset. I just gave them a message. He comes back home and reports this to the bird. And he says, one of your friends fell down dead the moment I gave your message. Listening to that, the bird falls down dead. With a heavy heart, he opens the cage, opens the door and takes the dead bird out. In no time, the bird flies and sits on a high ledge. The man is so upset. He said, I did so much for you. I took such good care of you. Why are you trying to escape from me? Sitting on that high perch, the bird said, my friend from Africa gave me a message. And he said, what did he say? He said, if you want true freedom, you must die before you die. Something in you, the ego in you must die. And sannyasa means allowing your ego to die. The word ego means edging God out. Finally, I would like to say what Adi Shankara had said in the Bhajagovindam. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadita. Just a little study of the Bhagavad Gita is enough for you to get this body disidentification, to get this ego out of you. And when you have this understanding, you are no longer in Yamadharmaraja's list. You become free. Living in life, in this body, you experience what is Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Finally, my last topic today is what our scriptures talk about, the Varnas. They talk about the 4 Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And this is a classification based on guna or trait, not by birth originally. If a person is knowledge-based, scripturally inclined, he's called a Brahmana. If a person is very dynamic with leadership quality, he's a Kshatriya. If a person has got ability to generate wealth, he is a Vaishya. If a person does not have any of these abilities and is willing to serve others, is classified as a Shudra. It is clearly not jati or birth based, as Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagaya. On the basis of guna and karma, I have classified so that you will be able to work on these Purusharthas. Friends, I have come to the end of today's session. I would like to give you a small homework to prepare for the class next week. The next week is all the sadhanas. One of the important sadhanas that we are going to do is called Karma Yoga. Karma means converting your work to worship. And our teacher Swami Paramarthananda has given 5 karmas that we should do every day with a sense of devotion, which is called Pancha Mahayajna. And if you can note it down, it is this. First is called Brahma Yajna. Brahma Yajna means some form of scriptural study. We have gone through this. This talk will be available also on YouTube. And if you want to go through this and make your own study, this itself becomes Brahma Yajna or a scriptural study. I will also give you links to my teacher's talks on Viveka Chudamani, which is currently available. 2 talks he will speak every week. The website will be Yoga Malika. I would strongly recommend you learn directly from the source, from my great master. And if you are able to listen to these 2 talks, you have fulfilled what is called Brahma Yajna for the week. Then there is something called Deva Yajna. Once you have woken up and once your body is freshened up, sit in the presence of a picture or image of God in your own prayer room. Chant whatever mantras that you know for just a few minutes, light a lamp, and then for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending upon the time available, chant some mantra like Shri Ram, Jai Ram or Om Namah Shivaya, and that is called Deva Yajna. I would recommend you do it every morning, every evening, and if you can go a step further, before every meal, make a small prayer, and that is called Deva Yajna. Third is called Manusha Yajna. Manusha Yajna is very often in life when somebody asks you a favor, you have all the right to say no, but then you'll say, can I go an extra mile? I have all the right to say no, but I will go an extra mile to serve my family member or anybody else. When I do this extra little, and that service to a fellow human being is called Manusha Yajna, some form of Manusha Yajna every day. Bhuta Yajna is caring for plants and animals. And if you have some animal or a plant whom you can serve lovingly, and that is another form of Karma Yoga that you do called Bhuta Yajna. Finally, it is called Pitra Yajna. Reverence to your parents. We begin the day with Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava. I make my offering to my parents. If my parents are not alive, I make some form of service to the elderly. I will conclude by the last words of the Bhagavad Gita from Sanjaya, which goes like this: Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijaya Bhutir Dhruva Niti Matir Mama. Matir Mama means this is my opinion. This is what Sanjaya says. Sanjaya says wherever you have a combination of Yogeshwara Krishna. Yogeshwara Krishna is the higher principles in you. When clubbed with Dhanurdhara Partha, the fully armed, fully able you with all your abilities, if you're able to club these 2 things, he says, I will promise you few things. First is Shri. Shri means wealth. You will be rich. You will be abundantly blessed with wealth. Vijaya, all your efforts will be successful and you will have a steady and a progress. You will steadily progress in your life. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Badrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhak Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful class. It is a pleasure. It's a delight to listen to you as always. Friends, the chat option has been enabled now. You may please type your questions, queries, etc. Those questions will be answered later in the next class. We have come to the close of our inaugural session today. Thank you all for your patient listening. Hope you have now got a clear picture of what you are going to study in the coming 8 weeks. Next week, apart from talk by Dr. Hegde sir, you will be listening to some of our senior students presenting explanations of various mantras. So Let's log in next Friday, same time. Finally, just to remind you, we should log in before 6:45 p.m. next week. Looking forward to seeing you all. Stay home, stay safe. Good night, good day, depending on various time zones you are all from. Thank you. Hari Om.